This is my channel right here. It's called DMC Sessions.
I'm never even at those kinds of places. I don't do karaoke, but I was at there was a salsa party at Six Cocktail Bar.
Oh yeah, Sixes.
So these other guys, I was there with a friend of mine, and these other guys are like, come to karaoke, and I'm like, even though I'm a singer, but I don't know. I'm very like protective of my craft. Not in the way that like I'm overly. I think maybe I would take it too seriously because you should just be able to go and sing. But I'm like I have to be perfect every time, and you
have high standards.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, the stage doesn't make me nervous. It's just that
she loves the stage, man.
I love the stage, but it's
I'm inspired by that. And we get nervous.
I get nervous, but like with karaoke, I don't know. It's just not something that like I'm not that person who'll be like get anywhere and just start singing with any crowd, like at a party. I'm not that person. I always have to be prepared, and So anyway, but it was cool. These guys were like, come, and then they were like, you have to sing. Once I told them that I sing, that I'm a singer, they're like, you have to come and sing. So I'm glad I did. I'm glad I met you, and I'm glad we're doing this. It's cool to exchange.
Yeah.
I like this whole thing of podcasts and especially in South Africa, because I think I've definitely have followed a number of like American podcasts and YouTubers. So it's interesting to also. I'll be honest. I haven't really listened to a lot of a lot of South African podcasts or what's happening in the scene here. Yeah. So it's interesting for me to be part of that. And ooh.
Dang, this guy always spills, eh?
So it's interesting it's nice also because I'm in a very, I think, unique place now. So maybe it's nice actually for me to be talking to you now where I am in my career and in my life. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm in a very contemplative place, you know. Yeah. I also, just speaking of that rat race, I haven't been in the like working 9-to-5 rat race, but I've been in the artist trying to hustle. And I've been in the hustle.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, something's got to change. And I'm changing the way I'm doing things.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Guys, I guess we've started.
I think so.
Serati is such a natural, man. Oh, we're joined by Serati. What's up, by the way? This is the DMC Sessions. I go by the name of Apendule Pakate. And we are joined today by Serati. Beautiful mind, man. As you've heard already, she's a natural. She just goes I feel like you're just made for this. You just start talking. Like you're also doing, I think I saw you also with those lives that you used to do. With talking with other artists and stuff. So you're also into podcasting vibes.
I'm into sharing, I'm into exchanging, I don't know if I would have my own podcast, but I definitely like the idea of the thing is what I am is I'm a questioner of life, and I'm a storyteller.
Yeah.
So I use different mediums. Music is a medium, writing is a medium, and just exchanging and talking, like social media is a medium through which I can speak to people and question and share. So I just felt like, there are people who I'm interested in talking to, people who I'm interested in hearing their journeys, other fellow artists. Why not share that on my platform?
Yeah.
So I did that, and I really want to continue to do that. I just had a lot going on at the time, so I couldn't really continue, but I plan to continue.
You always have a lot going on. What is going on in your life? What do you do? Who are you actually? Can you just introduce yourself to us so that we know who you are and what you're about?
So I am, my name is Serati. I am a singer-songwriter. I am a writer. I write poetry. I write articles on different social issues. I'm a performer. I'm someone who's interested, as I said, in the question of
questioning life.
In questioning life, in the human condition. I'm interested in the human experience.
Yeah.
And as I say, I'm actually growing as an artist to find more and more mediums to question and to tell stories. So music has been my main medium for the last like couple of years, and writing was a medium, but then I kind of stopped. I had a blog.
What type of writing? Like just songwriting and scripts, or just...
So I had a blog called Afro Hair and Fashion for 5+ years. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and it grew. It was so popular. I was known for a long. So I started out with modeling. That's that's how I started. And through modeling, I had an afro.
Yeah.
And I was questioning about why it is so difficult to be a model with natural hair, with afro textured hair, and encountering hairstylists who didn't know how to deal with afro textured hair. And I'm like, we're in Africa. What do you study in hairstyling school?
Yeah.
Beauty school if you're not studying afro hair. We're in Africa. So I started to question that, and I started to share my questionings in my blog, Afro Hair and Fashion. And that's where I started to exercise my writing. I'd always loved writing, but always focused on songwriting. So that's when I started writing seriously. So I did that for 5+ years. But then the blog evolved from just writing about hair to black beauty, black aesthetic, the politics of black beauty, the politics of Afro textured hair, feminism, and then I realized actually I've got more to say than I'm not just interested in hair. I think I'm interested in questioning so much more. And so the blog felt like it was limiting, and so I discontinued that and stopped writing for a long time, and then now came back to writing years later. Yeah. Are
you writing now currently?
So now I've gone back to writing. I wrote. I finally got my inspiration, because as a writer, if you lose it, you can lose that. You can get blocked. Yes. And if you,
I was just going through it.
And if you don't write, the more you don't write, the more you don't write.
Yes.
The more you write, the more you write, the more you get inspiration.
You get into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I stopped, and I lost it, and I also just didn't know what. There was nothing that made me want to write. Honestly, there was nothing that I felt like I needed to write. So finally, I got the inspiration to write. Like end of last year, I started questioning about the most like random thing in a way, because like me writing about nature. I started writing about nature.
Oh, that's nice.
You broke out of the writer's block.
Yes. Because I was questioning about. Like access to nature, based on economic status and racial status, and I was questioning that, and so I felt like I want to research. I started researching it because for the first time I started having access to nature, in a big way.
Okay.
When
What way? What do you mean?
So okay, I grew up in a very urban setting.
Yeah.
I moved around a lot as a child. My family moved around a lot, but always very urban. So I grew up in my family's home. My grandparents' home is in Alex. And then so obviously township. Okay, I know that maybe some townships, I spoke to people when I was doing research, some people did have some access to nature in some townships, but in Alex, there's it's just concrete.
Yes.
It's absolute concrete.
Yeah, I was complaining about that at some point actually.
Yeah, it's complete concrete. In fact, in my my grandparents' house, there was always a soccer ground right opposite. Now it's changed a little bit, but it was closed all the time. It was just soccer matches over there, and while kids are playing in the street, and they have nowhere to, they can't play in the soccer ground, So I never questioned that because it was just normal. But anyway, so I grew up in Alex, and then my family lived in America for 2 years. We moved there when I was a baby.
Where in America? Where in America?
Massachusetts, Boston.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you never got to experience it.
Yeah, I was a baby. Yeah. I was a toddler. And then came back, and then moved around a lot in Joburg, and then moved to London, England. Very urban, just completely urban. And came back, and then started traveling, like I'm fast forwarding. Started traveling I lived in Tanzania, which was the first time I lived in Dar es Salaam. The first time I lived, with, like it was still urban. It's a city, Dar es Salaam, but it's different from Joburg because you can, I don't know, it's like people walk around a bit more. I don't know. It's like, it's a very big city. So it's not like you can walk around everywhere, but I just was a bit more outdoors than I was here.
Yeah.
And then living in Maputo for the last 2.5 years, Mozambique, that's where I was now enjoying living in a city where you can walk home at night.
For real?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was crazy, you know. And then also just enjoying going to the beach, being in a situation where I had access now, and I had the ability to go almost every weekend, go out of the city and experience nature, you know, like the bush, the beach, the sea, you know. So having that access,
it's my favorite places too.
You know, so having that access and coming from a place where emotionally I felt in bondage for a long time. I kind of felt like it was a form of liberation, like a mental and physical liberation, to get to spend time in in nature, which is so vast and expansive. And it made me question why I did not have that access growing up, and why so many did not have that access, and why instead of the feeling of being in nature being something in the beginning that was that felt comfortable, in fact it felt threatening, you know. And I was threatened by nature. I felt so afraid, so nervous in nature, you know, nervous about the elements of nature. And I started to question, is this just me, or is this got something to do with the urban Black experience? And I started to research that, and then I wrote this article called Democratizing Nature for okay, they changed my title, so I don't even remember what the title is now, because that wasn't my original title. It was Democratizing Nature for rest and leisure, rest and play. So basically, I was talking about the fact that access to nature shouldn't be something that is afforded to people who have a certain the means, you know, who are wealthy, basically. And having traveled having lived in Joburg, having lived in England, having lived in other African countries.
Lived in England also?
Yes, in London.
Yeah.
So having then lived in other African countries, having lived in a city like Maputo, seeing that this is across the board, where you see that poor people live in inner cities, where people live on top of each other, there's no space.
Projects.
You know, the projects, the ghetto, it's always concrete, it's always full, people are living on top of each other. And people who have money, whether it's on the coast, whether it's in a city like Johannesburg, like on the coast, for example, living in Maputo, people who have money have access to living in a place where you have the view of the ocean. You know, just that, what that does for your mental health, compared to living in a place where
it's
all around you it's concrete.
And the smell, the pollution,
noise, you know. So I started to question that, and then I wrote this article, Democratizing Nature, and it got published in the Daily Maverick beginning of this year. So I was like, okay, I'm a writer. I was like, I was like, okay, now I'm doing this. I'm back. I'm back to writing. So that's how I got my writing back.
Okay, let's talk about your music. We got into your writing.
Before that, I just want to ask, who changed your title, by the way?
The Daily Maverick.
Yeah, where she was working.
Which is okay. I get why they did, because my original title was what was my original title? Nature, Friend versus Threat, an Urban Girls Ecofeminist Discovery. So friend versus threat, as in, is it a friend or is it a threat? Because the people that I was so fortunate to be, or the person that I'm so grateful to for having exposed me to nature, he sees nature as a friend. You know, he knows how it works, he understands how the elements work, and when something happens, he knows how to navigate. As like a friend, whereas I saw it as a threat. So nature, friend versus threat. Yeah.
Alright. No, that's dope, by the way. Like everything that you just said, I can relate with a lot of it, because I love the beach, I love the oceans, I love nature. I actually used to take time for myself on Sundays. I don't know why I don't do it anymore. I should do it again, but where I would go into like a nature resort place, like a hiking or, you know, botanical gardens or whatever, and just chill there the whole day and just experience nature, because of the rat race. We were speaking about it earlier, that I was in this rat race, like, you know, in the city and the noise and everything, and you never had time to have a break. So in terms of like mental health also, I hear you when you say that, because it does play a huge role. And then also when you go by the coast, you know, the feeling that you get from the oceans and what it makes you feel like nature actually speaks to you. Nature actually has a communication element to it that we don't really take into consideration, we take for granted most of the time.
Yeah.
So things like when you're in the hood and stuff, and it's like the smoke, there's sewage pipes that are broken.
Yeah, it's so
it's
violent.
so uncomfortable. Like,
Yeah.
it gets violent,
It's
and you see why
violent.
people are violent as well.
Yeah, and
naturally.
you see why. Oh, you see how. Sorry, I know we have to get to the music, but you see
Yeah.
how that like, you know, if when it's like it's a violence of the mind in a way, because you it's like it's people think violence is just a physical thing.
You start projecting it.
Yeah, but you know, it's like it's an injustice. It's an injustice.
Yeah.
And so in my research, I discovered this woman called Ellen Miles in from England. She's doing a campaign she's campaigning for the UN to start to recognize nature as a human right, because you know, she's talking about how it's you know, in England, in so many different cities, in so many different countries, you see the same thing, that people who don't have access to nature, who live in the inner city, the you know, the effects of their community, the effects it has, the differences in people who have access to nature and who don't, mental health, as you say, attention deficit disorder, you know, physical conditions, so many things, the community, violence in the community, crime, all of those things. And so when you think about South Africa, the context of South Africa, townships, violence, crime, you know, people living on top of each other, you know, you then have to start to question, you know, it's not just, it's like, it's so much more that causes these conditions that we find in the township, you know. Something you might take for granted, like lack of access to nature, is such a crucial thing.
It's such a crucial thing. It should be a right.
Yeah.
Because that's where we're coming from.
Exactly.
Before all of this was built, like that was our life.
Yeah.
And then we built everything on top of it and corrupted everything. And then our kids were born into it. It's just complicated. But anyways, with the music, right? Speaking of what you're speaking about, what is your music about? What does it say? And how did you start it? When did you start it? What is it about music to you? Just touch on that.
So music, where do I start? Music is the one thing that I always knew that was a given. I always had the talent to write, but I never really saw write. It wasn't the first thing. Music was always the first thing. Singing. I knew I could sing. I knew I loved singing. I knew I loved performing. So I always knew that I was going to pursue that. And I think in the beginning, it was like a very personal thing, in the sense that the things I would write about were to do with myself. It was very self-centered, like my emotions, my personal experience. And my first EP that I released in 2018 is very, the songs that are on there are very much, and most of my songs, as I said, like from my early 20s, are very much in introspective. But I think as I've gotten older, as I've matured and had, you know, gotten to have more of become more aware of the world around me, it's so important to me, and I'm more and more questioning things about the human condition, nature, you know, things like that. So now I'm really interested in writing about that, including those kinds of political and social issues in my music. So
you write your own music?
Yeah,
also?
I write my own music. I write my own songs. I play guitar.
And then performance-wise, I see you travel a lot. You go touring. I was actually inspired by the touring thing, man, because I want to tour, travel and stuff, and it's one of the things that you inspire me about when I watch you. It's like, I have to go to Maputo, I have to go to Tanzania, I'm performing this there. I'm like, whoa, you need to give me the juice. Like,
I'm really grateful that happened, because I really want, for the longest time I wanted to travel. So I traveled as a child. I got exposure, you know, living in London and America as a child, you know, with my family. But then until 25, I hadn't traveled by myself. So at 25, I got the opportunity to go to Tanzania through a management company that was based there.
Nice.
And I just took the opportunity. The plan wasn't for me to go there. They were just like, we'll manage you from, they would be there and they'd manage me. On Trans Africa Radio. Okay. It's an online radio station.
Nice.
So they heard me and they were like, we'd like to work with you. And then I was like, I've been wanting to travel. What am I doing here?
Yeah.
I'm going, you know.
Any normal artist would take that opportunity.
You know, I took my savings. I took everything. I went.
You had to pay for it?
I had to pay for it.
Damn.
Yeah. It wasn't a record deal. It wasn't a record deal where they're like, we're paying for everything. It's a management deal.
Okay.
You know, and they didn't say come. They didn't say we're inviting you to come. I said, I'm coming, you know?
Yeah.
And I was actually in a contract at the time here, and they got me out of that contract. It was a really bad contract. So I was like, I don't have anything that's keeping me here, and I've been wanting to travel. So let me just take this opportunity. So I went, and I must say, traveling is the best thing for an artist.
Yo, I can
It's the best thing.
right? Yeah. Imagine out the country, like that's even worse.
Yeah, you have to travel because, you know, being in Tanzania, I've grown so much. I mean, like it's so different. Like it's so interesting, the different experiences I've had from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, to Maputo, Mozambique. Like Dar es Salaam, I was performing. Okay, so when I was there, I got to record my EP Rapture. That was really when I got the practice as a performer. Before then, I'd get jittery before getting on stage. I'd be shaking, you know, because I wasn't doing it regularly enough. You know, I'd be like literally my fingers would be like cramping up.
And you are guitarist.
My fingers would be like cramping up on stage because I didn't have enough practice.
Yeah.
So there, I was performing like every week. You know, every several times a week. I was performing in hotels in Zanzibar because there's a big tourist. I mean, Zanzibar is like practically just tourism, you know. So I was performing a lot there, and that was so good for my development as a performer, as an artist, and then I just loved living there. It was such an amazing experience. First time living in another African country, you know, also, which was huge. It was such an eye opener for me, you know, helped me also to see South Africa from a different perspective, you know, so that I could be critical of it and also then question things and write about them, you know, like nature, all those things, what we were just talking about, being able to live outside of South Africa, not just living in London and New York, you know, but living in another African city. It gives you a different perspective. And then in 2019, got to go to Maputo, which wasn't planned. My sister lives there, so I was visiting her basically, and also just wanted to move from Joburg. I was really not wanting to come back to Joburg.
So you've always been based here?
Yeah,
I was wondering, where are you based?
I'm
You
based.
usually leave.
Yeah, I know. I've been living.
I've been trying to be in contact. She's like, oh, I have to go to Maputo. Dang. So you're based here?
I'm based here. Like when people say, where do you live? I'm like, that's a really complicated question.
Like, where do you live?
It's really complicated.
Dang, that's nice though.
But it's nice, but it's been like also stressful in the last couple of years because COVID. So how I ended up living in Maputo was COVID, really. You know, because I was there, I was doing a project there. I put together with these beautiful women this collective called Basadi Mintsu.
Oh, like I've seen pictures of that group. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Basadi Mintsu.
Basadi
Mintsu. So Mintsu is root in Shangan.
Oh, okay.
And Basadi is woman in Setswana.
Okay.
So we met in Maputo. Just me from South Africa, a Mozambican girl, a Cuban girl, and a Brazilian girl. Ooh. And then we were like, guys, this is more than just one show. Because originally it was just one show. Yeah. But like, no, guys, there's more to this than one show.
Definitely.
So we were like, just excited about working together. COVID happened March 2020. Yeah. Borders closed. I had to decide whether to come back to SA or stay there because borders were closing. And people were like, you know, you should go home. Like my manager from Tanzania was like, you should go home because, you know, you're not probably going to work for a while. Because remember in Europe at that time, it had already been, COVID had already been happening. Yeah. So he knew that by the time it got to us in Africa by March 2020, he already had the experience from Europe. So he was like, trust me, you're not going to be able to work for a while. So I suggest you go home where you won't have to worry about expenses, you know? But I was like, I wanted to move. I'm here. I've got these projects happening. I've got nothing really happening in SA. It doesn't really make sense to go back right now. Yeah. So I stayed, and and then like the whole last 2 years we've been developing Basadi Mintsu. We've been performing. We recorded our EP. We've done residencies, and that also awakened the political also. More and more the political and social aspect of my artistry, because with Basadi we really are so interested and
are you guys like militant type of group?
I mean, I wouldn't say militant per se, but we're like, you know, we're it's like it's not just about writing nice songs, you know. It's about
it has something to say.
There's substance. So it's about there's intention, exactly. It's about Black women, it's about Black womanhood, it's about you know, our experience as African women and Afro-diasporic women, and writing songs that reflect that
Wait,
experience.
say that again. Afro what?
Afro-diasporic. So black women around the world, basically.
Oh, okay.
Black people of African origin around the world. So black Brazilians, black Cubans, as we got the two, black Cuban and Brazilian.
Yeah, okay.
So it's about that. And that's why we called ourselves Basadi Mintsu, you know, because, so roots women.
Yeah.
Basadi, root Mintsu. So roots women. And again, that really awakened the political and social aspect of my artistry, and has made me now, has like sort of put me on a course now to be like, okay, I'm writing different songs, I'm interested in different issues beyond just my personal experience. And you know, it was so challenging during COVID in Maputo. It was a beautiful experience living there, but it was also incredibly challenging. So I'm in a place now where I'm like, okay, let me take a break from the outward world of social media, because as you see, I ghosted.
Yeah, you ghosted.
I ghosted. Yeah, I'm still. I have that thing of like, I need to post, but I'm like, you know what? Don't. Yeah. Work on yourself. Yeah. So that when you come out with, you have something of substance. Yeah. You know,
for sure.
Because for the longest time I was just posting because you have to post.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I'm older. I've been doing this for a while. I'm more intentional about what I want to say. So take time to think about it and really put something out there of quality rather than just putting out there for the algorithm. Like, you know.
Oh, I hear you there. Yeah. Because people like around you would, I don't know if you get this, but people around you would be like, yeah, why aren't you dropping? When are you dropping? Or they've heard a track, you played maybe tracks for close friends of yours, and then they're like, yeah, man, you should drop this track. Why are you holding back on it? But you have like a certain intention about how this should go. And it's like, I'm not ready either to come out yet or to put this out yet, or I have an idea of how this should come out with a certain body of work maybe. Yeah. So, and as an artist, you need time to work on yourself. You need time to, before you get on a platform, it's being responsible. Yeah. Like you need to first be okay with yourself and be strong enough to be able to be a leader, because that's what you are as an artist. Like, you get people who are fans, and fans means followers. It means, you know, you got followers on Instagram. You know, so what are you teaching the people? What are you saying to the people? And are you in an okay state to be able to do that? And especially because you're a conscious person, you're going to think first about what you do. And if you feel like you're not there, it's okay to step back. Yeah. And people should understand that, you know, because you're human.
Yeah. And before people should understand that, you need to be okay with that. Yeah. You need to say to yourself, it's okay. You know, because we also, there's so much that you said that I want to respond to, but like, we're living in this world now of this time of like instant now, all the time.
Yes,
you know, food. Yes. So you always feel like you have to be putting something out. You always need to have content. So when you spoke about rat race, I felt that, but from a different point of view of always feeling like I need to be getting gigs, you know, putting stuff out there, posting. And I've just been, I got burnt out.
Yeah, for sure. You know.
I had a point in Maputo now, I was there like 2 months ago, where I was like, I actually can't do this anymore. Yeah. I literally broke down and I was like, wow, I can't do this. I cannot do this. I need a break. I need to focus on the internal, because I think I'm just running, trying to get things out. And actually the more energy I'm putting out, the less I'm getting back. So I'm depleting myself. And I'm not putting out anything that I actually think is of quality. And I think that's why I'm not getting what I want, you know? So I felt like, the hardest thing, I'm going to have to do the hardest thing, which is to take a break from social media, take a break from trying to get gigs, take a break from trying to be out there, because, you know, as an artist, as a performer, as someone who, even just as someone who runs your own business, you always have to be, you know, on the ball. You have to be on the ball, and you always feel like you have to be releasing something. And for many people around the world, for many artists, I've heard them say that COVID was their opportunity.
COVID changed a lot of people's lives.
It changed my life, that's for sure. I heard a lot of artists saying it was obviously challenging because they couldn't make money, obviously, but it gave them time to sort of create, because now you're not trying to get work, so all you can do, you're just at home, so you may as well create.
Yes.
So I got that in a sense, but I think post-COVID now, I actually realize how traumatic COVID was for me, the pandemic, because it was really challenging being in Maputo, being an artist, not having, not really being able to make a lot of money, you know, and still trying, and because in Maputo things didn't close, you know, we were still
For real?
Yeah.
How?
That's why it was bittersweet, because
That's why you stayed.
That's why I stayed.
I would have stayed too.
Yeah, it was the best thing. It was the best thing. That's why I say it's both. It's double. Like, it was really challenging, but on the other side, it was so good, because if I had left Maputo and come back to Joburg and not been able to do anything for 2 years or a year and a half or whatever, I would have really, I don't know what I would have done. But in Maputo, I got to create this collective. We were doing performances. I grew as an artist. So events were closed. We weren't able to perform publicly out there. Well, there were times things would open for a while and the numbers would rise and things would close. So there was that. But then at some point, people adapted, and there was like online shows now. So venues were, they'd book you and they'd pay you. But obviously there was no audience. It's just online. So at least there was some activity. You know, we could go to studio. We could come get together and rehearse. There was that. So so I think. But after the fact, now I'm like, okay. Also, I spent a lot of time focusing on Basadi and us building our thing, our body of work, and who we are. And now that's influenced me on a personal level so much. And now I'm kind of like figuring out, okay, how do I want to present myself publicly? On what kind of platform do I want to present myself? I want to put together my music. I've just allowed myself to take time away from social media, not seeing what anyone else is doing, because that's also like,
that's also
things. You always feel like people are doing things, and people are like, and you're just like, I should be doing
social
things.
media is dangerous, eh?
It's so dangerous.
Dang.
That's the next article I'm writing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm writing about social media.
Yeah.
Because I've had time to be like, to reflect on how I always feel like I've been always feeling like, when you're not doing something at a particular moment, and you go on social media, everybody looks like they're doing something.
Yeah. they're giving you like highlights of their lives.
Yeah, and you think
time.
that's their life.
That's their life.
Yeah. So it makes you constantly feel like you have to run and chase. All to say, I'm kind of out of that for now. Just kind of, I don't want to know what anyone is doing. I need to focus on what I need to do. And then again, so that when I come out with something, I'm really proud of it. And it's me. It's an original thing. It's not in response to what I saw other people doing. And I feel like as an artist, it's really dangerous. I think social media is really dangerous in that for an artist, because it doesn't allow you to have original thoughts and original ideas, because you constantly have access to what everybody else is doing. It's hard enough to be original in this world because, almost everything that you want to do has already been done. There's very little that's original anymore anyway. But when you constantly have access to what everybody's doing in every moment, that is just the worst thing for an artist. And I'm deciding to get out of that.
With everything that you said, besides what you had mentioned, how else do you deal with your mental health and your sanity? And because it sounds like when you said you had a breakdown and everything, it sounds like there's a story behind that. So can you just give us, how you deal with things, and how you came out, how you looking this good now, how you fresh, if you are really, if you're hiding.
No,
I don't know.
I'm still in a process.
Yeah.
But I for my mental health, my spiritual well-being, I meditate. I've meditated for a long time. I have a very deep spiritual practice and deep spiritual belief, so I believe in something bigger than me. I believe that I'm part of something more than what I can see.
Yeah.
So that keeps me sane, and that has kept me sane over the years, because obviously as life, with life, I've had those bad moments. I've had those challenging moments over the years. So meditation has been the thing that has gotten me through everything. Just being able to wake up in the morning and so as much as obviously day to day I'm on social media, but at least first thing in the morning I wake up and before my phone, before seeing anyone, like meditate for an hour and just center myself, connect to my center, and that is it. And just the belief that, beyond I just have the belief that I belong to something bigger than
For
what I
sure.
can see. Whether you
Yeah.
call that God, whether you call that higher power, love, I'm not so focused on what you call it, or whatever. I just know that I have to have there's something that has to anchor me, and I have to connect to that through my
Otherwise you're gonna
meditation.
be just lost and
Yeah,
wavering,
wavering,
and not
exactly.
knowing what's what, who you are even.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So how do you meditate? Is it like you sit down and you pose, or do you what is your practice?
So I've been meditating for a really long time now. So I'm lucky that, like, I'm grateful that I'm able to, even if I haven't meditated for like a week, or 2 weeks, because my life is stressful.
Yeah.
Once I do get into it, I'm like, okay, I'm able to. Yeah. So basically, I just sit in a cross-legged position, like this, and I just close my eyes and I silence my mind, and I try to focus on. So it depends. I got into deep breathing meditation, which is just great, because I think because I'm very as an artist, you feel deeply.
Yeah.
And I feel like I also realized that I think feelings get. I don't think I'm unique in that way. I just think I'm very sensitive to it. But feelings get lodged in my body, emotions get stuck in my body. So doing deep breathing meditation releases it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that's something that I practice, deep breathing meditation. Sometimes just not necessarily deep breathing, but just focusing on the presence, just feeling present. Sometimes I'll use a guided meditation, but generally I don't, because I like to. It's about being still and quiet. I don't want to listen to someone else guiding me. The guided meditations are good when you're maybe just starting and
you need to have a reference of how
yes,
to do this.
exactly.
This?
Yeah, and you need you need a voice at least to focus on.
Yeah.
'Cause it can be hard to silence your mind if you're not
used to it.
if you're not used to it. But I also started practicing like deep. I can't believe I'm actually saying this on camera.
Okay.
No, it's nothing big, but it's just like, wait, am I actually going to talk about this? No, it's just stretching, like I've always done yoga and stuff, but then just stretching. As I said, I realized that I get a lot of emotion stuck in my body. So when I stretch and with doing deep breathing and stretching, I actually I physically feel like I'm releasing the emotion. And when I've been going through a stressful time, I'm like, I need to stretch. And when I stretch and I breathe it out, I really feel the release, because you can feel in certain parts of your body that there is emotion stuck there.
What's taboo about that though?
No,
Stretching.
it's just.
I was waiting for something. I'm like, wait, what is she gonna say?
No, it's just so personal. It's not like
For real.
Yeah.
Who was stretching yesterday?
I know, but I.
Oh, you scared that I might put a picture, like trying to imagine like how the stretch looks.
No, because it's just like, I don't know. It's like a newish thing, so it's like not new. I don't know why. I just
yeah. Okay.
But yeah.
So you love yoga also?
Yeah, I have done it on and off for a couple of years. Like over the years, I've done it on and off. So I don't know it like all the poses exactly, but
yeah,
I enjoy yoga.
I wanted to ask like a question with the music, right? Also personal. I don't know if you wanna answer it or not, but do you have a partner? And if so, how do you guys deal with you traveling a lot and going places? And if not, why not?
Well, let's see. I prefer probably not to answer that entirely.
Okay.
I will say what should I say?
Because there's a lot of people out there who deal with like young couples, right? Like if you're dating an artist, it's kind of difficult, and they don't know how to navigate it, or people don't understand artists. They don't understand their way of life. It's very unpredictable. It's very like kind of chaotic how your life is, time wise and attention wise. I mean, if you get immersed in your art at some point, and it's like maybe your partner might need attention, and you feel like you're not there or not present, and then you try, like, because you're always managing your times, you know? So that's why I'm asking that question.
What I'll say is I honestly, I've always been with people who are really supportive, just incredibly supportive. It wouldn't. The thing is, as an artist, you have to be with people who are supportive. You have to have people who are supportive because you can't be with someone who is like jealous or it's like there's
Because you'll get some love too.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
those are other dynamics.
the partner will get some love.
No, you
I
like as
need
the
to-
artist, like you'll get some love from people who support you.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
you need like a family who's supportive. You need a partner who is supportive. Honestly, I've been with people who, you know, I look back at one particular relationship with someone who was just so supportive, like, and he never seemed to feel like, maybe he did internally, but he didn't show it.
he
I think
didn't
he
show
probably
it,
maybe
yeah.
had moments where he did, but like maybe like, oh wow, okay, so maybe a lot of attention, but he was always just so incredibly supportive, like, no, you do your thing, not jealous. Like, he knows we're together, so he doesn't need me to affirm him, especially in a public place. Like, at the end of it, we're together after the concert or whatever. So it is difficult being in a relationship. I think, as you say, it can be so chaotic. I've had times where I'm like, oh my gosh, my life is just so
There's
chaotic.
no time at all.
Yeah,
No
or just
dates.
or just it's chaotic in the sense that I don't even know where I'm going to be from one month to the next. So it's hard, and sometimes
Also.
you're like, you know, this person that like you feel a bit self-conscious or whatever. But I've been in relationships with people who are very supportive, and I haven't had that problem. Honestly, when it comes to my art, I've been really
Means
in
you've been
great
like
relationships.
good selecting.
Yeah,
You've
I
been a
think
good selector.
I also think I'm not attracted to people who are trying to compete for attention. I'm not just generally I'm not attracted to guys who want the limelight. I like low key guys. I really like low key guys, just as a personality. Besides me being an artist or whatever, in general, I just like guys who are low key because I think I tend to be, you know, talkative. I'm chatty, so I don't want the guys also like, you know, out there.
You want
you know?
some balance.
Yeah, I want a guy who's chilled, you know, I like a guy who's chilled. So in that sense, even with me being an artist, generally, the guys that I've been with were always like, they were chilled. They and they don't need attention. They're just like, you do you, and then when you're done, you know, we're cool. So, yeah.
Yeah, family-wise, do you have any siblings?
Yes, I have two older siblings, much older brother who's 15 years older than me. Who's also an artist. He's like a photographer, and you know, so a different kind of art. And then an older sister, who's 9 years older than me, who I was living with when I first got to Maputo. That's how I ended up there.
They in Maputo.
Yeah, my sister and her husband.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and
Then
they.
you're the last born.
Yeah, I'm the last one.
9 years later.
Exactly.
Hey, your parents got
When
dabs.
no one was thinking. No one was thinking. I was like, yeah, there I
You're
came.
surprised.
So I and actually my siblings have been a big part of an influence, you know, in terms of just the music that I grew up hearing in my childhood. You know, I remember vaguely hearing Tracy Chapman in my childhood. I don't know who. My sister loves Tracy Chapman. I think my mom also in the 90s when we were in America, because that's when Tracy Chapman kind of came out in the early 90s, or maybe late 80s, I'm not sure. But like, I think her really famous album came out in the early 90s when we were in America. So I remember, I have vague memories of hearing that, hearing the music that my siblings were playing. So that's been part of my...
She's part of your influences.
Tracy Chapman, yeah.
Yeah. Who else is your influence?
So Tracy Chapman in a big way, just in the sense of how she writes, you know, how she writes about... I mean, just yesterday I was like, I could write an essay on so many different songs of Tracy Chapman.
Damn, you're a stan.
On how the profundity of what she's saying, of how they touch me, and how just profound some of her words are. You know, I could write essays on each song. Wow. You know, and I was like, I think I'm gonna do it. So yeah, Tracy Chapman. Like the first artist where I was like, yeah, I really like I really saw myself in her was Celine Dion.
Mm.
I loved Celine Dion.
Mm.
Lebu Matosa in the sense
For
of
real?
I remember one of my earliest memories because when I was driving here I heard a song on the radio
Mm.
and I was like I remembered I don't know how old I was. I think I must have been I don't know 5, 6 I don't know, really young, and just seeing Lebu Matosa on a video, like a music video on TV, and I was like I don't know what I remember thinking. I don't know what that is, but
Yeah,
I want that.
you like
I want to
that.
be that, and she was performing.
Yeah.
And I it's easy to forget that memory because it was a really early memory.
Yes, it
and
is.
musically, I didn't necessarily ever want to be a pop star in that way. So I forget that I had that experience. But I remember so well looking at Lebu Matosa and being like, yeah, I knew that
That's what you want.
I want to be that.
Yeah.
Who else? Sade.
Sade.
I love Sade.
Nice. Oh, Sade is beautiful.
Yeah. I like her music, but she wasn't an influence per se. Nowadays, I'm being exposed to like living in Maputo and having been like in the Portuguese language community. I'm listening to a lot of Brazilian music, which has been really
interesting.
Has been an
How's that?
influence. Yeah, it's interesting. It's nice. It's so good to.
Does it have that Caribbean vibe to it, or I haven't really heard it?
There's so much Brazilian music. I mean, Brazil is huge. It's such a big country, and there's so much culturally, musically. They're so rich. So obviously samba is a big one, but I love. So I love. Oh, but she's not even.
Samba is a genre.
Yeah, samba's a
I
genre.
thought it was like
A
soccer
dance.
move.
Oh, soccer move.
Maybe it is also.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Maybe it's a culture.
Yeah,
like
it could
saying
be
hip-hop.
it could be a football thing. I don't know, but
Maybe a
it's
dance move. Something.
salsa. I think you're thinking of salsa, maybe. Salsa is a dance.
Oh, okay. No, that one is specifically called samba.
Okay.
Samba.
Yeah, it could
Now
be.
they used to do it like the samba way.
Oh yeah, probably because because samba is a dance. Sorry, yeah, samba is also a dance.
Oh,
Yes.
so you was including the dance in the football.
Maybe because it's part of Brazilian culture. There's the samba
Yeah.
music and then there's the samba dance
Yeah.
also, which I don't know the samba, but
Yeah,
it's
that's
quite
what I was saying. It's like probably a culture.
Yeah, it's a
Like what
culture.
hip-hop
I think
is.
so.
There's hip hop dance. There's hip hop
Music,
There's
yeah.
hip hop graffiti. There's
yeah. So it's been nice being in Maputo and being not just Brazilian but just Portuguese language music, like music from Cape Verde. Like there's an artist called Sara Tavares. I love her. She's also like guitar based, but with so many different elements. She grew up in Portugal, but she's originally from Cape Verde, so she's got her music from Cape Verde, so those elements in her music, and so that's just opened me up also as an artist. So obviously I have my influences from childhood, but I think as I've gotten to travel and as I'm trying to expose myself more and more, I'm trying to just basically also I'm trying to expose myself to more culture, to culture that's not just Western, American particularly.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling from you. I'm like, you're mentioning other things. Most people don't know most of the music you're influenced by. But
Yeah, so I was influenced a lot by American music. I was influenced in childhood by European music. I lived in London, so a lot. I was influenced by British music, British young artists like Amy Winehouse as a teenager. Amy Winehouse, Katie Melua, Paolo Nutini, a lot of British artists as a writer. In terms of my writing, that was a big influence because the way they wrote, I found that the way young British artists that I was hearing, their writing style was different from American artists in that, I don't know, it was more.
soulful.
No, it was more. I don't know. America is like it was very. It's just it's hard to explain. Like you find young artists writing very personal lyrics, and it's hard for me to explain. It's really hard for me to explain. But it was just really different the way that they wrote, and I think the reason is because there's a very big my experience being a teenager in London was that young people, there's a presence of young people in the society. In South Africa, it's like. Or in Africa, young people are seen and not heard.
Okay.
Whereas there, young people have a lot of personal freedoms, you know, and they have a lot of the rights of young people are very important.
Voice.
They have a voice, so you hear it in their songwriting. You hear it, you know, and it's different from American music. So I felt that difference, and it influenced me a lot as a songwriter. So that was my early influence. But then, in the like coming back to SA, I also felt like I've been influenced so much by American and British, so I wanted to discover African music, and now more and more other parts of the world, because I just realized that the world is so much more than America, and we need to, especially as artists, you have to make a concerted effort to expose yourself to more than just what you're fed on social media, which is a lot of we you know, you or on the internet. Yeah, we get a lot of like American media, so for you to also do something original, you need to expose yourself to more so that you can have more to draw from, you know. Yeah.
So, in speaking about the youth from UK, I'm actually interested in asking this. What is the difference that you feel since you've been on the outside? What do you think of South African culture, South African youth, South African music, compared to other places that you've been to? Like, what is the things that you can say, this is an advantage, this is a disadvantage that we could learn from?
Oh, that's a big question.
Tough, man. Maybe we could break it down. Maybe
Yeah.
let's first say like the South African youth culture. Like, what do you think of it compared to other places you've been? How are we? Like, what do you see about us?
Okay, what I'll say is living in Mozambique, I definitely you feel that okay, South Africans, we one thing I always say, we protest, we riot, we'll go out in the streets, we you know, we fight, and South Africans like are not afraid. We're very fortunate in that way. It's a privilege to be to have the ability to, although of course though I can't deny that our government, we've had incidences obviously of violence enacted on people who are protesting. We have rubber bullets and all sorts of that. Yes, we have that, but still we've got very much that culture of getting out in the streets and protesting and rioting. And I'm not saying it's good to riot, you know, but I'm just saying it's good that we have a voice. Whereas in my experience in Mozambique, you know, the government is very is a bit it suppresses freedom of speech.
Oh yeah.
So even the even journalism.
Yeah, African countries are strict.
Yeah. So journalism, for instance, you know, the journalists who've gone missing. People can't just say anything. You can't even just take pictures. Sometimes in certain places, you're taking a picture in the street, they're like, you can't take a picture because they think you're a spy. So you know, so there's a lot. You feel that, and I also
that's hectic.
Yeah, and I also felt that a little bit in I just hope people from TZ and Mozambique won't be like, what are you talking about? But this is my experience.
Yeah.
In Tanzania also, sometimes you feel that presence of, you can't just take pictures anywhere. You can't just say anything about the government, you know, because you know, the government is suppressive. I hope that's the right word. Suppressive of the voice, of freedom of speech. So here we I think that has given us as a culture, especially young people, the ability to criticize our government, the ability to speak our minds about politics, about our society, and of course that shows itself in art. It shows itself in music. So that's something that I really appreciate about South Africa, you know, in comparison, for example, to Mozambique, where I really felt that, and also because with Basadi Mintsu we were doing a campaign raising awareness about the insurgency in the north of the country. So we were told, you know, be careful, guys. Don't just say. Be careful how you say things, because we got opportunities to get media presence and stuff about the campaign. So people were like, be careful, because people have gone missing saying certain things.
Dang.
So it's like that, you know. So those kinds of things make you aware of how
like privileged we are.
We are to be able to criticize our government publicly.
They always say, I've always heard this, South Africans were kind of like the spoiled kids of Africa, who always complaining, but they're like, they don't know how many privileges you guys have. Like, you guys have a lot of privileges, and the fact that you can say certain things. I think another thing that plays on it is the westernization of it, because in the West, like, they speak anything. Like,
Yeah,
they'll say
yeah.
things about their president that you're like, whoa, okay. You know, and I think we've adopted that here.
Yeah.
So we are kind of like a mixed breed, I would put us. You know, we are Africans. We still have some elements of our culture. We still know our language. Well, I don't know about these new kids these days, but I know with us, like, we still rooted in our culture. We can go home and have a reference, and we can, you know, see how we do things and the rituals and the clothing and so on. And then we can come this side and still have the Western experience, you know, in terms of even people who come, foreigners, or I know I don't like using that word, but yeah, people who come from other countries, you know, that we get to learn from and we diversify. So we have this whole mixture, like, you know, we're just a mixed breed of some sort that,
Yeah.
you know, you can't put a hand to, but it's still unique.
Yes.
So I think that's also one of the things that I appreciate about it. But I also love the fact, because why I want to travel to Africa and why I was so interested in also asking you about it is because I've always been interested in how it is outside, up there. Because I went to Mozambique in 2017, but I went to Shai Shai. So I got to see like the way things are there, man. It's like, yo, it's very impoverished, eh? Like, and you see kids that are hustling, you
yeah,
know, like
yeah,
that
yeah.
are car guards.
Yeah.
You see like the way people are, and the pricing, the currency. There's so many things, man, that when I came back, I appreciated. Robots, I didn't see any traffic lights.
Is it?
Yeah.
Maybe not in Shai Shai, but in Maputo
But
there are.
Maputo, yeah, I think we saw Maputo from a distance. It was like a city, kind of looked like Jaws.
You should definitely experience Maputo.
But I should go to Maputo.
Yeah, Maputo has a very it's famous for its dynamic cultural scene, its art scene. Obviously, Maputo is such a small city, you know, it's so small, you know, so when I say dynamic, it's limited to a really small city.
Yeah.
Whereas Joburg, I mean, you've got scenes within scenes,
Scenes,
within
yeah,
scenes,
yeah,
you know.
sure.
But Maputo, why it was so easy for me to stay there also was because it's so small, so it's easy also to meet people. And you can get into it so quickly. So that's a really cool thing as an artist, and even just anyone going to live there. It's easy to become part of a community, which is something I didn't feel in Joburg. I've never felt that. You know, it was you get there and you're walking down the street. Like the first day, for example, I walked down the street. I was going somewhere and I needed to ask someone for directions. They gave me directions. I think the second or third day I walked down the street, I bumped into that guy again.
Yeah.
So already, because you're walking in the street, you again, so people, it's a walking city. People walk in Maputo. That's
You don't
something
get robbed.
also. When I'm walking at night, it's funny, I always say the thing I'm afraid of, if I'm afraid of something happening at night, it's more like some crazy guy.
Yeah.
There are these crazy guys who beg, you know, but they're more crazy. They're not violent. You don't feel like this guy is going to rape you. I don't have that fear. But and that's the thing also that's been difficult for me to come back to Joburg, is that, you know, having to drive everywhere. Joburg is a big city, and, you know, gated communities, and, you know, when you're in a gated community, it's like a town within a town within a town, you know, whereas in Maputo, I really appreciate the fact that, because you're walking around from place to place, you get to know the people in your neighborhood. You meet people really easily. If you're an artist, you meet one artist, they tell another artist. You go to a place, you can't. Okay, at some point, constantly seeing the same people over and over again does get a bit tiring. But it also, when you're just getting there, there's something really nice about feeling like you're part of a community. Which maybe you can feel that if you're living in Melville, you know, but it's only in certain areas that you can have that.
When last were in Marvel?
I think that night. I think
For
that was the
real?
last.
Dang.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
You go out a lot.
When I've been in Joburg in the last, now, because since Maputo, I'd come for like a month to go back. I haven't been going out a lot, honestly, especially now, like in this year, I haven't really been going out, but because I'm just like focusing on just like figuring things out. But generally, I like to go out. Yeah, I think so.
Now and then, it's good
Now
to
and
just
then. Yeah.
listen up.
Yeah, I think I'm something between a recluse. I'm becoming more and more like enjoying being by myself. But obviously, I'm a performer. I like people. I like meeting people. So that's important also. You know, I like to go out. network, yeah.
Keep that balance.
Dance, meet people. Yeah.
Oh man, that was an interesting conversation we've had. I just wanted to thank you for coming through and having this conversation with me. Before we leave, actually, I wanted to just first check if there's anything that you wanted to say, anything you wanted to share, that you feel like I didn't ask, maybe any advice. Oh, you have a question. Okay, after his question, answer that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What influenced you to specifically pick a guitar, and what age was it, and how long did it take you to perfect strumming?
I started with piano in London I started with piano when I was like 14 in London, and then I got exposed through being in school. Obviously, like we did music in school, so I was music theory, but I hated music theory. Don't ask me about music theory. I hated it because I felt like it was a science. I didn't like the formula.
It's the theory.
Yeah,
I feel you.
Yeah, so then not long after starting piano, I got a guitar, but didn't start until quite a while. Honestly, I think it's hard for me to even remember when I started playing guitar because it was in a very strange time of my life. But I probably started playing at around 18, 19 maybe. And how long did it take? I was played on and off for a while because it was like so painful, How long did it take me to perfect? I don't know. I still don't think I perfected it. Like I don't feel like I.
Do you feel like you ever do though?
Probably
I don't know if
not.
Guitarists feel like that.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, obviously, maybe there's. I don't know. I still feel like I'm a work in progress in terms of the technicalities of music because I've never really been that interested in it. I've always been more interested in what I'm writing about instead of how the technicalities. But that's also important, But why did I pick guitar? I liked it. I was playing with other people who I was exposed to guitar and I liked it. And the reason why I was able to continue with guitar is because it's you can move around with it, unlike a piano. When I left London, I couldn't bring my piano, so I couldn't continue.
Yeah.
With guitar, you can take it anywhere with you. It's accessible. It's easy to move around. So, and it's been a great accompaniment to.
Is it like a comforter also? I feel like you guys look comfortable in it. It's like it's your baby.
It is.
We've been through a lot together.
Yeah, there's so much that you've seen. There's so much that you've heard. So yeah, it is like an ear. An ear that you can listen and can like intuit. Whatever I'm trying to say, and I find the way to now put that into melody.
Oh, like an add-on, like you.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So is there anything I wanted to say other than that? Can I have like 2 minutes to think?
Yeah, sure. Like, people like they would have those moments when they're in an interview space and it's like, I don't know if you have this, but I would think about it like, hey, I'd love to say something like this, but you never get the opportunity to be asked that. So that's why I also ask sometimes that question for people to have the allowance to get that out, whatever they were thinking of saying or something they had rehearsed before. Well, I've had times I've spoken to myself in my car as if I'm being interviewed.
I did practice some things like about this interview, but what I want to ask before I say this, because when what I say will be determined by this answer. When will this likely come out?
It'll come out not this week, but the following week. Okay. Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah. So Tuesday at 4 a.m. 4 p.m. Make sure you tune in, subscribe, like the channel. Okay. Nice.
So what I'll say is okay. I have been very quiet, and I will continue to be quiet on social media for the next for a while.
Yeah.
Because I really need to just be within myself to figure out what's the next move. And anyone who's followed me or even just friends on social media will not see me there for a while. But I'm working on something really exciting. I'm working on something. I'm working on how I want to present myself. I'm working on I'm putting value to myself as an artist. Rather than being so focused on what you're getting. Like, okay, fine, I have put work out there, and I want people to listen to it and like it, and I want to get opportunities. I want what I've put out to bring me opportunities. Yes, and that's good. But I also I feel like I've been feeling like I need to also detach a little bit from this outside world of social media to, as I said, just think like, okay, what's next? What do I want to do? How do I want to do it? How do I want this to look? You know, I've been inspired by other people that I've worked with in Maputo, for example, who I'm like, wow, yeah. One needs to take a moment and just think. Reflect, yeah. You know, sometimes you meet people and you work with people and you're like, yeah, I really respect this person. I really respect this artist. And it makes me think that maybe I need to give myself a bit of time to reflect, refine, you know, and that's what I'm doing. I'm reflecting, I'm refining myself as a person, as an artist. And from now on, I'm not going to just put anything, I'm not going to so this is something that someone said that I just admire, the girl that I'm saying I admire so much.
Yeah.
She said, I'm only interested in doing work that is interesting, that's meaningful and profound. You know, and Lena Babule, she's a beautiful artist from Mozambique. Yeah. She said that she's like, I'm only interested in doing work that is meaningful and profound. And I was feeling that. And when she said, I was like, yeah, that's it. And so that's how I feel. So I really, for me to be involved in work that is meaningful and profound, I need to work on myself to get myself to a level where I feel like I'm a certain quality that I deserve to also get quality work. So I need to work on myself and work on how I present myself. And when I do come out with something, I am working on something I'm really excited about, and where people who are interested in what I have to offer can come and get to know me. And yeah, so you'll see that really soon.
No, shout out to that. I'm very grateful for meeting artists like you, and that artists like you exist, because there's not a lot like you. So I just, for one, want to say that I really appreciate you, and I thank you for everything that you do. And I want you to stay the path of being true to yourself and making sure that what you put out is not just anything, but it's something of value. Because music, like diet, like anything, you know, it is a diet. You know, it's the chef's job to get the people healed. It's the chef's job to get the people feeling good, just like the DJ, just like the performers. So I really appreciate the fact that you think about things and be patient with yourself. Don't always feel like you gotta beat yourself up for things. I know we go through that sometimes, and you feel like things are not going as fast as you want them to be, or whatever the case is. You know, there's a lot of things that we stress about. Money's not coming in the way I wanted, not getting the attention of the audience. But just keep doing what you do, because it's important to those little that follow you. You know, grow with those. You know the term, like, be faithful with the little that you have, and you know, be trusted with more. It's something like that, you know. Never feel discouraged. We are here, we're supporting you. We really appreciate you, appreciate your music. I heard some of your music. I think it's beautiful, and you're going the right direction. Keep growing, keep evolving, and become who you probably see yourself as. Or even if you don't, you will learn as you go. You know, just as you said, you go to other countries and then you meet people, or you experience certain things that change the trajectory of how you get to where you're going. The people that you meet also on the way. So yeah, thank you so much for coming onto the channel. This is the type of stuff that I love to have here, man. I want to educate and bring inspiration to a lot of people, and especially those who feel like they are not enough, or they feel like they're not doing enough, or whatever, man. They're not inspired, or they're scared of their dreams. You know, they're scared of taking the step, making the risk. And you guys are one of those people who actually take that step and inspire us also. So thank you for that. Much appreciation, Queen. Yeah, guys, this is the DMC sessions, man. This is Serati. We had a beautiful conversation. Please, guys, tune into the channel. Share it if you feel inspired. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. There's more content to come. And yeah, man, I hope you guys stay being inspired and be covered in love, showered with blessings. Peace out from my side.